My name is Christopher and I'm a team member at Rudy Consulting. So this is my story about how I came to Rooted. I've had a lot of jobs over the years, too many to name in a video like this, but we'll start off with one of my very first jobs, and it was Rally's. Rally's is a fast food chain that serves burgers. I started off on the grill. I remember I had my first sort of testing and certification path really laid out for me when I was in high school, and they had this grill sort of exam. I forget all the details, but I remember that if you took this and you passed it, you'd get a, wait for it, 10-cent raise. And so I studied real hard, I ended up passing the test, and I got myself a raise. And that sort of taught me the value of learning at a time in my life where I didn't see much point with school and what it would ever do for me. But I began to realize there that if you learn some things, there can be correlating benefits to that. And so Rally's was my first job. Burger King was a huge part of my high school and college experience. I worked at several of them. That's where I learned the value of hard work and being detailed oriented. Working at Burger King, I was what you would call a porter. We would go around and clean the grill early in the morning. I have another much longer story, but I rode a bike to work, not for any other purposes but necessity. And so I had to be at work at 5 o'clock every morning. And at the time, and probably to this day, I'm not a morning person, although I find myself getting up early. But I would ride my bike around 4 in the morning. If you were to have me tell you this story personally, I'd say uphill both ways in the snow, even though I live in Louisiana where there is no snow and we rarely have hills. But that's what it felt like getting up, and rainy days were just not really fun. So I would go and clean. I'd clean the driveways, I'd have to clean all the windows, I'd have to mop everything, I'd have to change the grease traps. Sometimes I'd have to help out on the line, fill ice buckets and the drink, plastic things with all the soda mix in it. So that's what I did every day. Huge, got really good at it. Most porters would take till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would knock it out before around 10. And so I'd get off early and go to the BCM, Baptist Collegiate Ministry, early before my college classes started for the day. So Burger King, thank you for everything you taught me. And to this day, I still clean my hands very frequently because every 15 minutes you have to sanitize your hands there. And I've been doing that now for 20 plus years. So they taught me how to be clean. My first big ministry opportunity was Emmanuel Baptist Church in Morgan City. It was the first church I ever served on staff at. I did a lot of summer gigs where I wasn't there for a whole year, but just there sort of a summer youth minister who would fill in, do events, plan things. Super green, not at all good at organization or operations. I loved people, I wanted to serve, and they gave me my first shot. Bob Burton was my pastor at the time. Brother Bob, when I sat down with him the first sort of time that I met with him, he gave me some words of wisdom that I've lived by for my entire life. And it was ready to work, on time, with other people. That was it. He's like, be ready to work with, on time with other people. And he said at the end of it, the emphasis on other people. And I'll never forget that, because working with people over the last 2.5 decades or so, that's been the common truth, that people come from very different backgrounds and have different life experiences and are different places, for different reasons. And you've just got to go in there knowing that people are not always going to be where you're at and understand where you're coming from. So you have to have an others focused mentality. Super simple statement that has some deep truths. First Baptist Church, Ville Platte. I served as a student pastor at First Baptist Church, Ville Platte, actually 2 different times. First time was for 9.5 years, between I think 2001 to 2009, I think was my first run. Did a lot there, helped to help the church transition from conservative or sort of hymn-based worship to a blended modern worship, where there are like worship songs that are more guitar based and sort of acoustic. So that was a big thing that we did while I was there. We helped them transition from projectors that were if you remember the old plastic, you'd put that on a projector, and not the digital kind, but the actual old school. We moved from that when I was leading there. That's how we did it. We had to print out those little plastic copies. The name escapes me now, but where the music minister and the pastor, Ted Bertrand, music minister, and Joe Arnold were the pastor, they and a few others got together and helped to get an actual digital projector, and then later on I would help to modernize it even more with large TVs, moving to motion graphics, to services, and it just was a really interesting time for me, because being on staff somewhere so long really helped me to understand people, really helped me to know what like long-term leadership looked like. That I kind of walked away there saying that I was living with the mistakes I had made 10 years prior, and so it was one of those things where I had perspective and a lot more intention, because I realized the little things that I did over the years would add up, either good or bad, and I would be living with those consequences. So was a really insightful time for me, and very thankful for that opportunity. Second time I came back, very different person. There was a gap of time where I'd served in interim at a few other churches, as well as having now a technical professional career at that point, and did some really cool things. To me, the best part of being on staff at a church is people, getting to know students and seeing them grow up, having a chance to have done many of their weddings. Some of them are now neighbors. They've gone off into careers. I think that's just been such a joy to just see them grow up and see them flourish, and that's just really always exciting. So Ville Platte, a total of almost 15 years there, and it's been a great experience. Some of my best and closest friends are still from Ville Platte, and all of my opinion of food is now biased from my experience with Ville Platte, because they cook so well, and that's probably why I gained so much weight. Donham Computer Services. During my time in Ville Platte, I did several other things. I worked for city government, I taught at a school, but in terms of how it affected me in my modern life, Donham Computer Services was a big deal. David Donham gave me my first shot in my technical career, and I was looking to do tech. I had kind of gotten interested in computers, even though I didn't grow up with them and really know how to use them for the majority of my college career. I left college not really knowing how to use computers well, ironically, given what I do today. But I think it gives me a lot of empathy as well because of that. When I started off with David, I didn't know much at all. I mean, I just, I knew nothing. And he gave me a shot. It's where I realized that I needed structure, and I needed workflows, and I needed a prescriptive approach to troubleshooting. And because of that experience with David, one of the things that I did was pursue my Apple certification. It sort of forced me to realize, if I'm going to do this professionally, I need to get the training to help myself become more clear-headed and know, approaches to troubleshooting, whether it be Mac OS or Windows. So David was huge for that, and taught me, to me more than anything else, the true grit of what it means to just get into a problem and not stop until you help a customer get it solved, because that is why we do what we do. The City of Ville Platte. Because of my work with students, I worked for a city government for about 4 years, helped to start with another group of incredible people. My friend Charlie Allo was one of them, and that time in my life was amazing, because that's where I realized how important it was to be professional. I didn't have good communication skills, I didn't have good documentation skills, and my manager and my mentor in that season was Sharon Fontenot, and she used to say, document, document, document. And again, just absolutely words that I would go on to live by. My business is better because of those words, and in learning how to navigate relationships, as politics and city government aside, ultimately all professions are about dealing with people and learning how to navigate them, to figure out what you need to do to work with them, and how to lead them well, because you don't want to waste their time. Time is important, and that's where I began to realize how critical time was. Probably more than any other season of my life, because that's where I had to bill per hour for my time, and then working with literally hundreds of businesses to put students in mentoring relationships with them. That really just opened my eyes, and I think would set the tone for the next sort of phase in my career. The Orchard. One of the things that I would do is I used to love to go to Cece's Coffee House. I still do today. It's one of my favorite coffee shops. I love many of them, but that was the one that sort of drew me to Lafayette. I started going to Cece's probably when I was still in Thibodaux. I had a friend who was a barista, and I would just go hang out at the coffee shop, and I'd buy a cup of coffee and she'd make experimental drinks, and so that's where I would go. Well, there was a group called the Mac Meeting that would meet at one of the Cece's Coffee House inside of Lafayette, and I would go in once a week to go meet with them. I first met Jared Stepp, who's now one of my team members, who was at the time running a company called My Digital Phoenix, along with his business partner Eric Smith. And they both gave me an incredible opportunity to sort of join a startup at the ground up. When I tell you, it was amazing. Some of the people that have come through those doors and worked for that company have gone on to be incredibly impressive entrepreneurs, just incredibly generous people, and I'm just so thankful for all the experiences that I had. We went through a lot together, and you know, things from like the launch of the original iPad to just starting on-site services from sort of scratch, and you know, formulating how a core bar or how a Genius bar works, right, and the troubleshooting and how repair works. And I mean, every day was always new and exciting and challenging. There was ups and downs like any other company, but if it wasn't for the Orchard, I would not have been pushed to become more technical, to become a better sort of support person, and to really grow myself through a season of my time where up until that point I've struggled with insecurity my entire life, and really that was the moment where it helped me to realize what I could do, what it took to do it, and that I could do it. And that was thanks to all of the people who were around me, and again, special thanks to Eric and to Jared for giving me my first shot. Rooted Consulting wouldn't exist if it wasn't for my time at the Orchard. A lot of the things that I learned from Eric and from all the team members there have been things that I sort of live by in business and have made my business better. So I'm extremely grateful for that season of my life. And you know, when ultimately I decided to transition, nothing but incredibly warm thoughts about the people there and my time. It really did stretch me and solidify me and really set the tone for the last 6 or 7 years. Rooted Consulting. Rooted was developed with this idea that we wanted to have a name that meant something to us, and so having pastoral and ministerial experience, I felt like things that were personal to me needed to be translated to business and sort of seep into what our DNA was and our culture was. And so the name really means, double meaning. On a technical level, there's several terms in hard drives. Typically the top sort of, of the folder system in a hard drive is considered the root level. Many folks who have like Android devices or iPhones will root their phone, which is basically giving yourself root access. So it's a term, it's a user, it's a system user. But also for us, for me, being firmly planted extends from my personal beliefs and my faith. And so I wanted it to be something that represented who I was and was relevant to all of our customers. And so that's the name. We have an inner vision that we share with our staff, and that's to enrich the lives of our customers and our consultants. We want everyone to be better because of who we are, and we want our staff to grow as well. Personal and professional development are huge facets of what we do, and it's so important that we get all those things right. We have a set of values that really outline what we do every single day and how we act, and we're very value driven. But initially, it was a leap of faith. I started it without any customers and not a lot of resources. So this business was built from the ground up. There was no capital investment. There were no loans taken. It was just a lot of hard work and hustle. Just go out and make yourself as valuable as you can and try to do right by every customer you come into contact with. And so we are so thankful that now we have a great staff, both technical consulting, technical and media training, and now media services that we offer. It's been quite a journey. I've learned a lot about business because I'm not a traditional business owner. I didn't go to school for that. So I've had to learn a lot as I go. And I wouldn't be here without the support of my family, my wife, and my friends who were there early on to get it started. And now, of course, the staff that are with me today are just invaluable. Without them, Rooted wouldn't be what it is. because I believe that Rooted is simply personal effort by each and every one of our staff members. We focus a lot on business development and just processes and being, really focused on customers and being responsive. But I fundamentally believe it's the individual effort of each person that makes Rooted such a great company. Most customers won't know who I am, and that's a testament to how good my staff is, because I oftentimes am busy with other engagements for other customers, and so our staff really step in and make the difference. So incredibly grateful to them. Well, this is how I got here. This is the short version, believe it or not. It's been a journey. I'm so thankful. If you're watching this and you're a Rooted customer, let me say thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for making our vision and our dream happen. We wouldn't be here without you. And thanks for your continued belief. We work really hard to maintain that, and hope that you are really enjoying our services. If there's anything we can do better, don't forget to comment below.